Welcome back to AgriTalk. We're at Syngenta Biotechnology Facility in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina. We have so much amazing new technology in agriculture today, and I think sometimes we almost take it for granted or think it's just going to magically appear every year, and sometimes we forget how much research and development went into the technology we use today before it ever hit the market. We're going to talk about that now and what's in the pipeline moving forward from Syngenta. Dr. Dirk Benson, head of the Corn Trait Project Management, is with us. And Dirk, as we look at research and development from a company like Syngenta, kind of give us an overview of how Syngenta as a company looks at research and development.
So we actually look at trying to understand what the problems are that farmers are trying to solve, and then develop solutions that solve those problems. And because we have such a rich pipeline, whether it be from chemistry or traits or breeding for the crops of interest, we can bring a number of these parts to play to solve the problem.
But it doesn't happen overnight.
No, it does not. If it did, I'd be out of a job, for one. But developing these products, the individual ingredients in these products, takes a long period of time and a large investment. And as you all know, you don't plant a single product. You plant in an agro-ecosystem where you have seed, you've got GM trait technology, you've got your herbicides, insecticides, and things like that. And we try to develop a solution that encompasses all of those to help growers grow more.
Can you give us a look into what you're working on right now?
Well, I think the bright new advances are really around the area of agronomic traits, and in trying to provide more sustainable yield from the same land area with either similar inputs or, in a sense, as many farmers experience this year, less inputs, i.e. less water coming into the system. So being able to understand these complex traits like yield, yield under drought, or growing more crop with the same amount of fertilizer inputs. These are very complex problems. I also work in the insect trait area, and to call insect traits simple is probably a little bit of a misnomer, but insect traits are simple in relation to these problems we're trying to solve.
I often point to this past year, 2012, major drought year, and we talk about how much we didn't produce. I think the story might be how much we did produce in a major drought year. The technology has allowed us to do so much more than we would have been able to do if that same drought had happened 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's entirely correct. Not only are we releasing new technologies for yield under these stresses, but the current inputs, so you have a product that goes in the cornfield that's got insect control traits, you've got good weed control, you get a good stand, you get a good crop, you get good coverage of the rows, you actually save more water than you probably could have a couple of years ago, or maybe even a dozen years ago. So not only do you need good establishment, but you need the ag productivity traits and the protection traits that are available.
What do you think the future holds for Syngenta and the ag biotech industry?
Well, I think the Syngenta future here is actually quite bright. We're the only company that really does significant research across the spectrum of chemistries, of seed care, of GM biotech traits, and the native trait space for a number of crops. And we are really looking at enhancing yields in a sustainable way so that we can actually meet this challenge of the increasing population. In 2050, people say there's going to be another 2 billion people on the planet. Feeding them without finding more land, i.e. another South America or another corn belt, is going to be a significant challenge for our industry.
So the things you're working on now will help feed that population well into the future.
Well, I intend on being part of that population well into the future, so I'm certainly dedicated to working in this area, and I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to deliver these products.
All right, thanks, Dirk, and we'll talk to you again a little bit later.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Dr. Dirk Benson, head of the Corn Trait Project Management for Syngenta, and again giving us an overview and kind of a look, if you will, into the pipeline, the research and development so critical for a company like Syngenta, and really critical for agriculture and critical towards meeting the food needs for that growing world population. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back here to North Carolina, we're going to talk about AgriSure Artesian. A lot of interest in growing crops with less water. That's next. Stay with us. It's halftime on AgriTalk.